Make this year the start of your journey to authentic sales success. Welcome to the 2023 Authentic Selling Challenge, brought to you by our partners at the Y Institute, From the Heart Cards, and Selling from the Heart Insiders Group. Each day, you will be inspired, equipped, and challenged to take action to unlock higher levels of success in your sales career. You're about to be coached by some of the sales world's leading thought leaders and influencers. So grab a pen and a notepad and get ready to take action as we join our challenge hosts, Larry Levine and Daryl Amy.
All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We are live for day 5. What's going on, Larry?
Hey, what's happened to this week, Daryl? This has been one amazing week full of tremendous guests. By the way, I can't wait to have Colleen come on here in a bit.
It's so much fun. It's so much fun hanging out with everybody every day. I wish we could do this every day. This is so amazing. Got Brian in the house. We got Schroeder's back. Good morning. What's going on, Royals? I love Jill. Jill may be the most encouraging person I've ever met on this planet. It was great to see you, Jill. And give a shout out in the chat if you're here today. We've got an amazing conversation in store with our friend Colleen Stanley on something that is so super practical. We're going to talk about emotional intelligence and how it applies to sales. Just get ready. Grab a pen, grab a notepad, grab an iPad, piece of chalk, whatever you use to take notes, because you're going to get some practical things here today. This is going to be icing on the cake of what's been an amazing, amazing week. Let's go Blues. You're in the wrong podcast. Although we have been accused of being the sports talk radio of sales on Selling from the Heart podcast. It's good to see you here.
Hey, Daryl, what's been really, really good about this is every guest has brought a very unique perspective on authenticity and being genuine, bringing your heart to the forefront. This is an absolute amazing profession. But when we bring authenticity to the forefront, we sure do stand out.
Yeah, we certainly do. And look, there's a shout out to you, Larry. Hey, Larry, what's going on? This is a lot of fun. And, a lot of this community here that we're experiencing during the challenge. One of the cool things about Selling from the Heart is we get to experience this community all the time. We call it our Selling from the Heart Insiders Group. And the Insiders Group is a group of like-hearted sales professionals, just like is hanging out here during the challenge this week. And not only do we get together every Friday, in fact, this is when we get together every Friday. You could just make this a weekly habit. Not only do we get together every Friday and we hear from up close and personal behind the scenes with thought leaders and amazing people in the sales and leadership and psychology space, but also we mastermind and solve problems together. And you got to check it. There's a bunch of other things. You can check it out, sellingfromtheheart.net/insiders. But we want you to be a part of the community, because this thing that we're experiencing here this week, it's literally available to you all the time. And Larry, we've got one of our insiders himself, Mr. David Tegmeyer.
I love Dave Tegmeyer.
Yeah,
Dave Tegmeyer's something else.
Oh, we just call him Tegmeyer around here now. He's like family. And Dave submitted a video, like many of you have, on what does it mean to you to sell from the heart. We ask that question of our podcast guests every week. And so we're asking it of you, and everyone that's turning in a video is entered into a special drawing we'll talk about in just a moment. But Dave, thank you for submitting your video. This is going to be really good, Larry.
Hey, yeah, before you, I just want to set this up even more, just because if you got to know Dave, but to know Dave in 2020 and to know Dave now, that's a mouthful. Completely different person. I mean, The impact Selling from the Heart's had on Dave Tegmeyer is something else. Check this video out.
And vice versa. Dave, we love you, man. Yeah. Check this video out.
Hey, Dave Tegmeyer here. Jackie Joy, one of the Selling from the Heart coaches, asked me to shoot a quick video here on what Selling from the Heart means to me. It's changed my whole selling career. I got involved with Selling from the Heart back in 2020, the COVID year. And it was the thing missing in my sales career. I've been in sales my whole life, and I know all the nuts and bolts of sales, but when it comes to Actually, selling from the heart, I didn't have a clue. And so for me, it means actually doing the inside work uh, so that I am authentic and real and have a genuine care for my clients. And really, it's not just business; it's personal as well. Selling from the heart, like Larry says, is a lifestyle for me. I practice intentional gratitude towards people. I'm genuinely curious about who they are and what they're about. If I had to sum it up in one word, it's really just caring, actually caring about people and their well-being and put their needs above mine. And that's about it. Thank you.
Oh, Dave Digmeyer. I always sum up. I always sum all this up by just saying you just got to give a rip. When you
Yeah,
give a rip, it comes
absolutely.
across.
Talk about setting our conversation up today about emotional intelligence. That's a guy that gets it right there. And Dave, you're a true selling from the heart champion. We appreciate you, and Larry, I think we get as much from Dave. And I say we, I mean this whole community inside the Insiders Group, because Dave is a tremendous encouragement to all of us. So we've got an exciting day on tap. I'm just seeing more and more people chiming in here in the chat. Liz is back.
Liz is back, one of Colleen's neighbors. That's all right.
We got the captain. The captain's part of the Insiders Group as well. Thank you for the shout out, William. It's great to see you here. And we're having so much fun. And this week we've been thinking about authenticity and sales. And one of the things that it's hard to be authentic if you don't know your authentic self. And in particular, we've been exploring the challenge I think that a lot of us face in sales is that we were maybe brought into sales and taught to sell a certain way, which also included being a certain person and fitting some kind of corporate mold. And in the middle of it, it's really easy to wake up one day in sales and realize I kind of lost myself. Like I lost myself in the middle of the corporate sales world, and I became a bit of a corporate robot. And the challenge with that, Larry, is if you want trust, you better bring your authentic self to the table. Otherwise, you're going to really struggle to build trust with your prospects and clients.
Absolutely. And as I'm listening to what you're saying, here's the book that just flashes through my head. I know Colleen's backstage and she's going to smile when I say this. It's Deep Work. When I read the book Deep Work, the minute I just started thinking about this, is to bring your authentic self to the forefront requires deep work.
It does. And if you are listening in and going, yeah, I think I might be that person. I think I need to do a little deep work. We want to welcome you to be a part of an all new offering from Selling from the Heart. And that is Discover Your Authentic Selling Style. And in Discover Your Authentic Selling Style, you're going to actually reconnect with, make that bridge between who you really are in the sales role that you're in right now. And we've been talking about this all week. So you're going to get your YOS profile, which is an incredible tool to help you discover your why, your what, and your how. You're going to get a selling style assessment. And then there'll be 8 self-guided lessons that are going to walk you through reconnecting and discovering your authentic selling style. And it's all going to end up in a one-on-one conversation with a Selling from the Heart mentor. And Larry, I'm so excited about this program, because what we're going to see here is this movement of authenticity in the sales profession. When it hits down to the individual level and we all reconnect with who we authentically are, really good results come out of that.
Absolutely. And it just goes back to that one word. And just to sum this up, it's congruency. And we can talk about authenticity. And quite frankly, a lot of us can agree it's been a word that's just been thrown around and overused. But when we can become congruent with it, when the walk matches the talk, when the inner work we do fuels the outer success that we can have, watch what starts to happen. People smell this. And I've always said perception's reality. But I write about in Selling from the Heart is when you bring your authentic self to the forefront, you have no competition.
Absolutely. And that really is a bridge into what we want to talk about today. We've got Colleen Stanley in the house. She is a best-selling author of Emotional Intelligence for Sales Success. She also has a great sales leadership book on that topic. And one of the quotes I wanted to pull into this was from the book as we're setting this up is top sales professionals recognize today's changing business environment. It's also challenging and are equipping themselves with emotional intelligence skills. The ability to show up and be present with yourself and with your clients is actually a skill. It's called emotional intelligence. And we're so excited that we have one of the premier experts in emotional intelligence here at the Selling from the Heart Authentic Selling Challenge to coach us today. Ladies and gentlemen, give a huge shout out in the chat for our friend Colleen Stanley. Welcome to the challenge.
Welcome, you two fun guys.
I understand you have a word of the year.
It's fun.
Oh,
there you go.
You showed up at the right place.
Fun. You know what? If you're not having fun, you can't hit the sales quota. So I've always said you can hit the fun quota and the sales quota. Fun's my word for the year.
There you go.
You know what, though? I mean, this is such a actually simple and powerful word because there's not a lot of fun being had right now. There's a lot of wet blankets and long.
We are just, we're stressing out, we're burning out, and then everybody talks to each other about, I'm stressed out. Are you stressed out? I'm burned out.
I think so.
The fact is, if you talk to people about how much fun you're having, all of a sudden you're having fun. So that's kind of the perspective I'm usually bringing to the party. Yeah,
I think that's powerful too, and I think the reality is as sales professionals we're like bumblebees, right? We're all over the place talking to different people inside our company, hopefully prospecting and our client base. And we have an opportunity to be a spreader of joy and fun in an environment right now that is, it's stressful, of course. But I love that's your word of the year. And I love, like, that's significant. That's a big deal.
Yeah, and part of that word came out of it, and it's not really, I wish I had a more thought-provoking word. That would make me look smarter, okay? I'm pretty sure.
When you get emotional intelligence, this is pretty thought-provoking. We're going to get to that.
And this is not to discount truly people that are in, really, really tough situations. But I'm pretty high on an EQ skill called reality testing. And the reality is, life has changed. It's getting better. The pandemic is behind us, businesses opening up. And, we only hear about people not buying, but, I'm sure both of you are experiencing this. I have clients that have services that do well in good and bad economic times. So I think it's important for us to keep that perspective as we move forward in the year.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at all the charts and graphs. And I told everyone this week, I'm reading the Wall Street Journal, old school. Like I have the paper one because I really want to.
Hey, Daryl, only so you can brag about it.
Yeah, well, me and Colleen read the Wall Street Journal, Larry.
But make me feel bad.
But here's my observation, and you see the headline, right? Terrible, awful, horrible things happen, and then you see the chart, and it's like, boop. It's not like it went down to zero. It's just, hey, let's keep all this in perspective. But I think Chris Dunn's, we got a new hashtag here. We got Fun 2023. Thank you, Chris. Oh, and you even have a suggestion for your next book title for 2023 as well. Fun for Sales Success.
Thank you. Whoever contributed that.
That was Jackie Joy.
Thank you, Jackie.
Well, I'm really excited about this conversation because you bring a really super practical and actually very deeply informed by research perspective to what we've talked about all week, authenticity. And it's this word emotional intelligence, or the short form that I think a lot of folks have heard is EQ as well. I love it as we start out. If you give us like the like you do in the book, this is a fantastic book, by the way, everyone should grab a copy. You give a good layman's overview of what emotional intelligence is. And I'd love it if you'd start out by telling us what emotional intelligence is and why it's so critical for sales.
Well, the definition for emotional intelligence, and it's really similar to emotional self-awareness because that is the mega soft skill, right? Mm-hmm. So it's really being aware being the key word, aware of what emotions you're feeling, why you're feeling the emotions, and then how those emotions are affecting how you show up. Because you're either not bringing your best self, and if you're not bringing your best self, that could elicit negative emotions in anyone you're meeting or greeting. So it's really being self-aware, which also lends itself to being more other aware.
Mm.
So, and this is interesting. So, if can we just unpack self-aware? Because there's some people that I know really struggle with this. So, if you're going to coach somebody on how to become more self-aware, what are three just quick things they could just start doing to help them become more self-aware?
Well, the first suggestion they are not going to like. It is easy, but it's hard. The number one tool for improving self awareness is carving out quiet time every day
Yep.
to sit
Yes.
and reflect. Now, here's the challenge there's something called a cell phone. I refer to it as the adult binky, right? We
Yes.
take it away from people, they cry, where's my phone? I mean, it's crazy. And so, what happens a lot of times, people wake up and they go, okay, I attended Selling from the Heart and I heard that speaker and I'm going to carve out quiet time. But the first thing they do when they get up in the morning,
Yep.
they check their smartphone. And here's what happens emails, Slack, text. I don't know. People have got so much stuff coming in, and their brain literally goes into slightly fight or flight response. Even if none of the emails are problems, the to-do list has suddenly gotten
Yep.
bigger. So now the belief system comes in and it says, I don't have time for quiet time. And so they miss even 5 minutes of sitting and giving gratitude, reflecting. How did I show up yesterday? What trigger showed up that caused me to respond in a manner I regret? Was I the trigger? Applying that humble pie. So number one, carving out the quiet time, stop checking your smartphone, and then really get comfortable with the emotions. A lot of times people start going into judgment as far as, wow, I was really, really critical yesterday. Yes, you were. Accept the emotion. Okay. Boy, I was fearful yesterday. I was fearful, accept it, and then you can start doing something about it.
Oh, that's really good. And this quiet time, man, the price we pay for the 24/7 connectivity, and this is tough. This one's tough for everybody. It's super tough for salespeople because you think your livelihood at 5:30 in the morning is connected to what's in your email inbox. It can wait till 6:30. It can wait.
Well, the joke I make in training and keynotes is this. So you just hit it, Gerald. That's called an unspoken objection. So people listening right now are like, well, that's nice that she doesn't have a demanding business.
Yeah.
Maybe she has no business. Is she retired? There's nothing going on. I mean, how could somebody possibly carve out quiet time, right?
Right.
And so instead of, we all know this in sales, you just agree and align. But then my question is, well, then before you go to bed at night, you must send out an email to all your contacts and say, hey, good night, Daryl. Good night, Larry. I'm going to get up at 5:30. Got to get a cup of coffee. I'll be on email at 5:45. No one knows what time you get up.
No, nor do they care.
Carve out the quiet time. Right. So it really is something I suspect you need to do before you believe it. Like the belief triangle is often, if you believe it, you'll take the actions, right? In this case, I'm going to suggest do it consistently because you must take the action before your belief system will change on, wow, this is a much better way to start my day.
Yeah.
Hey, you know where this also applies, and I love this because I value my mornings. I know Daryl does, and I know a lot of the people that are watching this value their mornings. But think about where you can check your emotions right before you hop on a virtual call or a meeting or one that's face to face. It's just become self-aware and just crawl into some alone time, 5 minutes, and check your emotions and make sure you level set before you have a conversation with someone. Same thing applies.
Absolutely. And, Larry, you remind me of a mentor I had years ago. He was and still is brilliant in this business, John Rosso. And so no matter how much business he had coming in, how long he had been in sales, he took 5 minutes before every call. Now, when he was coaching me, it was more around the hard skills, and he suggested it. What are the frameworks? What are the model? Basic questions. And it's getting, intentional before you get on that phone call, Zoom call, whatever.
Yeah, it's simple, practical things like that are so powerful. And one of my authors I read is Carolyn Leaf. She's a neuroscience, and there's so much interesting research about this right now. One of the things she said that I put into practice just in the last month is taking a break. I mean, it's like, and it used to be like you had to take a coffee break in the middle of the morning, but she would say every 30 to 45 minutes, take a couple minutes, stand up, from in front of your computer. And then after 2 or 3 of those sessions, you need to take 15 or 20 minutes and do something else. And you go, well, I don't, once again, the unspoken objection, right? Daryl, come on, man. I don't have time to do that. But the reality is when we don't do that, when we live in this frenetic, like just go, 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 we're so, by the end of the day, we're so frazzled and disconnected from our hearts and disconnected from who we really are. It is really, really tough to relate and build trust, which is, the whole essence of selling. It's like we can't afford not to find breaks in between where we can reset. So I'm like all in on this right now. It's a big deal for me.
Well, what's interesting about this, and I think all of us need to recognize, we've all up-leveled our hard selling skills, right? So we know, like right now, you may need to update your sales messaging. You've got new decision makers maybe showing up, new markets to break into. So we're pretty good on, we need to do that. Now, whether we do it or not, that's another conversation. But why aren't we approaching some of the new information out there the same way? This is called brain science.
Right.
We didn't have this information 20 years ago. So we didn't know, hey, it is okay to take a 10-minute break because you literally come back more creative. Yeah. It's neuroscience 101. So that's where I challenge people. You're pretty good at saying, oh, yeah, I get it. We need to update our sales messaging. Well, you need to update just your daily habits of being more productive, creative, and frankly, happy and having fun.
I got a trick, Larry. I got to share this trick though. This is my trick for taking a break for everybody that goes, I don't have a time for a break. Just say, well, I need to go smoke. And so you walk outside and you don't have to smoke. You can just breathe the air. If you're a smoker, go ahead and smoke, but or you can mock smoke if you want. But like that practice of get up and get out of your chair and come back and be present in the moment. There's like a reset there. I'm not advocating taking up smoking. I'm advocating taking a break though.
And we could do that.
That's right. So it really is good. And Larry, I think that, this is practical stuff when it comes to being authentic, because I lose my authentic self when I get frazzled.
No, and believe me, I've witnessed it. But I got to throw something back at Colleen on this. Hey, Colleen, sorry, you've been on the podcast before. I like at least one dig on Daryl. So,
it's coming back at you, Larry.
I know, but when we think about emotional, I just have to go back to this because as I was listening and I was just thinking about something is just for your research is I'm going to flip this on its head for a moment. I'd be curious your thoughts. Is if we look at this from a buyer's perspective, just for a moment. How does a buyer recognize when somebody's emotionally intelligent? What are some of those things that they look for? What's that key? And I'm fascinated by this because I know there's words and I know there's things that are playing out in someone's head when they're going, right, that person gets it. And they get it because what?
Well, I think you mentioned a couple of things on congruency.
Yeah.
So if you go back to an EQ skill called emotional expression, it's literally your tonality, your rate of speech, but also your facial expression. So let me give you an example where we can appear incongruent, although well-intentioned. So I'm going to pick on cable news. Is everybody good with that? Opinion news, right? So it doesn't matter which channel you're watching. More than once, there'll be somebody waiting to be interviewed. It's a very serious topic. Watch the person being interviewed. Not all the time.
Right.
We're talking about maybe a war that broke out or a flooding or natural disaster. And so the person's face, you're supposed to be talking about something serious and they're smiling so that they look good. That's incongruent. We can do that very easily on a call where if you've done a good job of, finding the pain, as we call it, but you're sitting there and your face doesn't show true concern because you're really not concerned. You're sitting there going, score. I might be able to land this one. They literally don't trust you because your face is not congruent with the words you're saying. Is that tracking?
Yeah, got an acronym for that around here.
It's our friend Julie Hansen.
That's right.
In the brain science, mirror neurons. So people literally can sense if you're being empathetic. So that's the science part of it. They'll sense your energy, and people don't like to hear that word energy. It seems too woo. So what I generally say, well, if you're not believing in energy, Go back to a time when you walked into a room. I don't care if it was networking, a family dinner, or an internal meeting. And you walked in the room and you went, whoa, something's going on here.
Mm-hmm.
That's energy.
Mm-hmm.
No one said anything, but you sensed it.
Yep.
So this is the new science to apply, just like the new selling skills that we're all very dedicated to learning. Don't leave behind some of this new research.
Soft skills yield hard dollars. We say it all the time.
Every day. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I see Bill commenting on the RBF is real. We call that resting business face around here. So this one's a challenge, right? And being engaged is so, so important.
Yes. And I am married to someone with resting bee face. And it's hysterical because he'll be sitting there and this is kind of his natural stance. And this is one of the nicest people in the world, highly empathetic. And I'm kind of like, we're watching a comedy. Are you not having fun? I'm having a great time. So anyway, it's resting bee face.
But here, this is a good conversation because let's just think about it. Again, whether you're a sales leader or sales professional out there, we have to become cognizant of this. Because just imagine, right? We're in a conversation with someone, and I'm guilty of it because when I get engaged in conversation, I intentionally listen. I'm fascinated. I love asking questions, but I'm guilty of the resting business face.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that I'm not bringing any emotion into it. It's just that I'm listening to what Colleen's saying right now. I'm deeply in tune with it. But we also have to just watch and be cognizant of all this because it plays out.
Here's a tip for all of your listeners today. It comes from Deborah Benton. Years ago, she wrote the book, How to Think Like a CEO. So when I first moved to Denver, I heard her speak. And I won't tell the whole story, but basically her message was, you're always on. And so the advice she gave a CEO who needed to recognize you're always being watched, she said, have a pleasant resting face. And she said, say the words cheese whiz. So say the words cheese whiz.
Cheese whiz.
Cheese whiz.
And look where your expression is.
As you're spraying it on a cracker.
I heard this message 20 years ago. Cheese whiz. It's just a pleasant expression on your face because I've seen the same thing, Larry, and I'll get on some of my salespeople during training because I'll say during virtual training, this is your time to practice. Mm-hmm. Look engaged, even if I'm teaching. And so it's something you have to practice, just like anything else. Looking pleasant.
There's Bill. Larry, you got some homework? Cheese whiz, Larry. Cheese whiz.
Oh.
Hey, Colleen, I'm curious. So I want to go back to the morning or even the 5 minutes before the meeting. When you're going into that moment of self-reflection and you want to get in touch with, get in touch with what's going on in here. What are the emotions that I'm feeling? Could you guide us through? Like, I'm curious what goes through your mind as you're kind of maybe descending into that place, when you get up in the morning. Like, how do you get there?
Well, my number one tool, and I think what I continue to work on myself, is to ask the question, am I being self-absorbed or other-absorbed?
Oh.
And in today's society, and I know I'm sounding like I'm 100 years old, but see, there's things you have to be more aware of today than you did maybe 30 years ago. Like what I'll tell sellers is that you didn't have to be as aware of time management tools, maybe even 20 years ago, because you didn't have all the distractions coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But the same thing is we all can be very self-absorbed. I mean, you've got social media. All of us know how to use it. And so I think we're becoming a little more self-absorbed and narcissistic without meaning to. Mm-hmm. So that is always my question. Lose the self-absorption. Other absorb. How can I help this person? Where am I going to get too attached to the outcome? Look at the basic questions I'm going to ask. Don't let arrogance get in the way because you know what? I've been doing this a long time. Get on the call, wing it. Never works well, by the way. So that's really my number one tip. And let me tell you a quick story maybe too. So stories always help. When I first got into the speaking business, so I went to the National Speakers Association conference and I'm in a breakout room and Willie Jolly is the speaker. Yeah. And I am just like, your mouth. And so I remember his opening question was, the question you must ask yourself when you show up to do a keynote, are you there to impress or influence?
Yeah.
See, You'll be impressive, but that means you're self-absorbed. What do I look like? Did I get my 3 steps in? Did I pause? Right? Authentic people, their main goal is to influence, connect, help. If I can't help, I'll refer you. I've got a big network out there.
Really good.
It's so good. I'm so glad you brought up this word influence, because my 2 big words are influence and inspire.
Yeah.
And I think authentic, emotionally connected salespeople or sales leaders, they're going to inspire and influence people to see and achieve things they couldn't do
Absolutely.
on their own. But you got to get internally connected. It's hard freaking work.
Well, it is. And sometimes it seems like intangible work. Like if you're role playing, and I am big into role playing. I am big on scripts. And I heard Joy, there's a point where the scripts aren't needed, but I believe you need them in the beginning, because if you knew what to say intelligently, you would, right? So that's very tangible. Inner work is intangible. And you don't experience the tangible results until you've done the intangible. So, for example, I am someone that used to have a pretty good temper. All right. Could go from 0 to 100. I am so pleased now. There'll be things that come up, and literally something that would have triggered me as close as 5 years ago, I end up laughing about it. It's just comical. So, but that was doing a lot of inside work, visualization, bringing up something that's going to trigger me, whether it was a prospect, a customer, a colleague. You can change your brain. That's called the self-directed neuroplasticity. But you've got to believe to do the work, visualize, carve out the quiet time to get the reward.
There's so much great guidance on that journey in this book. Everyone, you want to grab a copy of this and, go and buy 3, buy one for yourself and give them to 2. No, seriously, give them to
both too kind.
No. There's method to my madness here. I want you to give a copy to 2 other salespeople that you're close to and work through this book together. I mean, this is because you need some people, I think, around you to hold you accountable. What do you think about that?
Well, Daryl, what you just demonstrated is being other absorbed. Let me help someone else.
Yeah,
because
that's good.
This is, and I want to be careful about this, but when I'm hearing everybody, they're stressing out their brain, it's alarming. And so when you take a look, and I read a lot of different resources on this, they will always come back. Generally, the reason you're now, this is not true mental health issues, where there's chemistry problems in the brain. A lot of times is you are so absorbed on yourself. So if you want to pop out of depression, stress, help somebody. And I think somebody coined it helper's high. So
that's interesting.
Yeah. So if it's a team member, you're hitting the goal, take some time out of your day, help the newbie, help the veteran that might be in a slump.
That's really good. I think that, we've talked about this on the podcast a lot over the last year, just the mental health state of the sales profession is not good. It's not good at all. And this is, I think this is a way that we can help each other is to be doing that self-reflection, doing, and challenging each other, encouraging each other around developing these skills of emotional intelligence. Because it's hard. I mean, sales is hard. It always has been.
Always going to be.
And always will be. And there's always going to be, hard months. There's going to be canceled meetings. There's going to be sales that don't close that you thought were going to, so it's going to be there. Like, get ready for it and prepare yourself.
And here's the other thing. I'm sorry, I just stepped on your.
Not at all. This is good. It was a little bit of a rant.
Go ahead, Colleen.
Step on it. So for everybody watching, that is my low impulse control. It's still working out. Okay. And my
need to recognize it.
Yeah. But here's what's interesting. The other thing that will relieve stress, and this comes again from the experts, it's perspective. Perspective. So, for me, yes, sales is hard. Tell me a profession that to be really good at it is not hard right now. So when I see the crew that comes and picks up our garbage every week, I think that's hard, right? If you go out and feed homeless at the homeless shelter, the people that are running those nonprofits, dealing with folks from all sorts, that's hard work. That's hard. My perspective is I'm not discounting that sales is hard. I just don't think it's as hard as we're making it.
And your client's life is hard too, right? I mean, that's so.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
aging parents trying to raise kids. Some of the kids may be having difficulty getting bullied. There's all sorts of things going on. So, perspective was something I learned early on from my late father. And it was interesting. My dad farmed till he was 84. He was just this very practical guy. And so we always make this joke that we'd go up to him, and if you're complaining about a problem, he'd just look at you and had the same answer. Well, little one, sun doesn't shine around here every day. I suggest you go find some sunshine or make some sunshine.
Oh, yeah.
And I bring it into every keynote I do, because you know what?
Yeah.
Perspective. And this was not a PhD. And I'm not taking anything away from somebody who has a PhD, but he was kind of like, this is something called life.
Yeah.
That was pretty early training for me. Oh, yeah, this thing called life, maybe it's going to have some days with clouds.
That is emotional intelligence.
Yeah. No, and this is so good. And this is what needs to be brought to the forefront, because Colleen, throughout our time together, you've talked about hard skills, right? We've made some reference to hard skills and things like that. And I think people overtrain the hard skills when I believe they need to overtrain and train on the skills we've been speaking about, because it's the alignment of head and heart.
Yeah. And Larry, I'd add to that, maybe it's not even an either or, it's both, because often what gets missed is the training on the soft skills. And I think it's because sometimes they don't know how a soft skill actually links to a selling stage, right? So, assertiveness. Okay, it's been reported by the research corporate executive board. I think they're named something else now. Well, they said the top quality found in top salespeople is assertiveness. Well, stop for a minute. Assertiveness is an EQ skill. It is not a hard skill. However, it's the skill that allows you to ask for what you need. I need to meet with the decision makers, because based on my win-loss analysis, we don't win unless we talk to the CMO. Assertiveness shows up in real small places. Getting a next step on the calendar instead of accepting, give me a call in 2 weeks. So I think, in fairness to the sales leaders, they haven't really been shown how there's a direct link to a selling skill or a selling step or stage.
Wow, that's good. That's super, super good. Colleen, what an amazing conversation. And I'm so stoked that this is so practical. And I truly want to encourage everyone to go grab 3 copies of this book and dig into it and start selling. Because in the back half of the book, you actually do that. You make the bridge between the different stages of prospecting. I got this thing dog-eared, and you know what I love though? I just want to highlight this at the end. And this is at the end of the book, people over process, for my Canadian friends. People over process, right? You've got a culture of emotional intelligence is really the key behind this for our sales leaders listening in. How do we create that culture of authenticity and emotional intelligence in our organizations?
Well, what's interesting? It goes back to a basic tenet, and it's an EQ skill that's talked about a lot, empathy, right? And so often, really high EQ cultures have a good combination of empathy and assertiveness, because for sales leaders, they think, well, if I'm too empathetic, it means I'm letting people off the hook. Okay, so let me address that first. But here's what I'd like everyone to take away with. We think empathy is a verbal skill. Empathy is first and foremost a thinking skill, because the definition is knowing and caring about what somebody else is thinking or feeling. So this is why, if you truly desire to be a person that possesses empathy and develops that muscle, and it is a development, that's why that 5 minutes in the morning can be important. So if I'm sitting there, Daryl, and you and I, or Larry, we're having a disagreement. Well, there can be that self-talk in my head. Well, Larry's always been a jerk. I don't know what. So, but if I sit there and go, if I literally have to make the argument from Larry's side, and I cannot make Larry's argument, I'm actually falling short of empathy. Because empathy is, I can actually state your perspective, even if I don't agree with it or believe it.
Wow.
Yeah.
We got one quick question here as we wrap up from Donna, and it's a good question. Do you think emphasis on hard skills is because they're somewhat easier than doing the deep work of soft skills?
I don't think it's easier, because, to become masterful at hard skills, It is
It's
hours
hard.
of practice. It's
Yeah.
hours of role play. Just about the time when you think you have, you're going to show up to the meeting and just be the late Zig Ziglar, right? Then you just blow up the call. Anybody besides me blowing up a call, you're like, oh, that was bad. And so I don't think it's any easier. I think it goes back to I can measure it. I can see it. I can touch its words. This is an internal transformation that you often can't see.
I love it. Well, Colleen, as we wrap up, how can people get more Colleen Stanley in their life, especially after they buy the 3 copies of Emotional Intelligence for Sales
Loving it.
Success?
This is the best.
That's good. Hey, I'm being assertive here. You got to grab this.
They can go to our webpage, salesleadershipdevelopment.com. We have a lot of free resources. I shoot a blog every week. Link in with me on LinkedIn because, like all of you, I'm on LinkedIn quite a bit. So, and buy the book. I'd love it. And leave a review.
Yeah,
there you go.
Leave a review. That's right. Hey, Colleen, thank you so much. This has been extremely valuable and a great way to capstone our week this week at the Authentic Selling Challenge. You're a true Selling from the Heart champion. We love you and appreciate you.
Yeah,
and I appreciate everything you're doing. You're making a difference.
Well, thank you. We appreciate it.
That's what we're all about. Thank you. I think we're making a difference, but more importantly, everybody listening in and participating, you're making a difference. And talk about, Ben, I think you summed it up well. Talk about really finishing strong, right?
I just have to give Ben St. Clair a shout out. Ben St. Guys, go connect to Ben St. Clair. This guy is absolutely amazing. He's a true, authentic selling professional.
Yeah, this right now, it's so funny. I was just thinking as Colleen was talking about, and we were talking about the morning, and we're big believers around here.
Yeah.
How you start your day is so critical. So many would say, especially New Year's right now, right? Everyone's going to the gym to do the physical workout. But what about the emotional workout? Are you flexing that muscle in the morning? Are you getting ready? And you need it right now. You need emotional intelligence. And I think what Colleen was talking about is so relevant to today in my life. And I know just based on the chat is relevant to everyone else. Really, really cool.
Yeah. And I would just ask everyone, as we put a fantastic bow on this week, is take 30 and 45 minutes, just carve it. Y'all have it. Just carve it. And that 30 to 45 minutes done consistently over time can really transform what you do, because how you start the morning is going to really determine what happens throughout the day.
And I think a great way to kickstart some of this self-reflection is with exactly what we've been premiering and launching this week. Discover your authentic selling style, to do the deep work, get it, prime the pump with the YOS and your selling style, and let us guide you through some deep work and even talk to a mentor at Selling from the Heart. You're going to thank us for this and the investment you make of time and your investment in yourself to be able to do this. I believe it's going to pay massive dividends and put you in the direction of really becoming emotionally intelligent. So discover your authentic selling style at sellingfromtheheart.net/selling-style. We got some people to say thank you to. First of all, thank you to Carmen Cruz, our producer behind the scenes, who makes us look so good. This thing would fall apart if it weren't for you, Carmen.
Carmen's the glue. Carmen is the glue.
Thank you as well to our head coach, Jackie Joy, for coordinating our guests and making all of this come together. And thank you to the entire team at Selling from the Heart for this is just a really cool group of people that we get to work alongside every day, that are driving this movement of authenticity and trust in company sales teams and with individuals all over the world. And it's so cool to be a part of this movement and see the difference that everyone is making.
No, absolutely. And as we conclude, me personally, I just have a huge favor. If this resonated with you this week, and hopefully it has, will you share it? Because together, and it's not only just the Selling from the Heart team, but it's everybody in our community. We're building this movement based on authenticity, integrity, and trust. And who just would have thought, Daryl, 5.5 years ago when I roped you into starting the Selling from the Heart podcast, all of this would happen. Amazing. It's turned into a wonderful, wonderful movement. We're making a difference. We're helping sales teams grow business, grow relationships, and more importantly, grow themselves. So thank you. We appreciate all of you.
Yeah. And speaking of the podcast, tomorrow morning, the all new format of the Selling from the Heart podcast launches. And one of the things you're going to notice, in addition to some pretty cool things, is a new feature in the middle of the podcast where we want to feature you answering the question, what does it mean to you to sell from the heart? So all week this week, we have, you have been submitting videos. You've been putting them in the challenge group. Some of you shared them right on your public LinkedIn profile. Just a short video, minute, what does it mean to you to sell from the heart? And we want to feature those videos on our podcast. So check out the new podcast format this week. I think you're going to absolutely love it. Thanks for sharing the video. And for everybody who shares a video, on Monday, we're going to do a drawing from the people that shared videos this week. And somebody is going to win a free Discover Your Authentic Selling Style. And so you don't want to miss out on that shot. And just answering that question itself, it's going to help you be more emotionally intelligent. And who doesn't want that? So Larry, I want to say thank you to you as well. This has been a true pleasure. Thank you to all our coaches this week. We have been coached and everything got recorded. So if you go to Discover Your Authentic Selling Style or discover, what are we doing? The AuthenticSellingChallenge.com, AuthenticSellingChallenge.com. If you go there next week, guess what you're going to find? Access to all the recordings. So please share this with your friends, your coworkers, your clients, and let's all continue making a difference together. Final word over to you, Larry, as we wrap this thing up.
I'm just going to say this. I'm a loss for words. No, we appreciate
Never
you.
happened.
I'm grateful. Again, I go back to this. Who would have thought all of this would happen? This all doesn't happen without all of you. So I appreciate you. Share what this week's meant. Put it out on social. More importantly, we welcome the videos on what's it mean to you to sell from the heart. Let's continue to build this movement because together we're all making a difference.
Awesome. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us today. We hope today's 2023 Authentic Selling Challenge has left you feeling inspired to put your new knowledge into action to grow your business. Please share the challenge with your coworkers, family, and friends while we all make a difference together. We look forward to continuing this journey with you tomorrow.